Hello everyone, this is how to graph a real-world rate application question. I have the steps down for you. Read and highlight the important information should be your first step. Identify the rate, which is the slope, and the initial value, which is the y-intercept. That's your second step. The third step is to write the slope in rise over run format because you're graphing. And it's the easiest when it's in that rise over run format to graph it. Identify the independent, which is the x, and the dependent, which is the y variables. Number the y-axis starting with the initial value, whatever the initial value is, and then rising using the slope. And connect those points using a ruler. So this is the question right here. On the bottom, a carpet cleaner is paid $25 per hour. And we are going to go to the highlighter right now, and $25 per hour is the important information right here. $25 per hour. So that means the slope, your rate, is 25. And since I am graphing this, it has to be in that rise over run format. I want it in that rise over run format. So I am just going to go ahead and put a 1 underneath that 25. 25 over 1 is 25. So I did not change it. Very important to put the arrows, the directional arrows, right next to the numbers in the slope. 25 is a positive, and that is the rise. So we're going to go up. And then run, the 1, is a positive, so we're going to go to the right. And I have my directional arrows. I can look back at that and use them when I'm graphing. So the B, which is your y-intercept, the initial value, it says the carpet cleaner is paid $25 per hour, but it doesn't make any mention of anything as far as an initial value goes. So if this person didn't work any hours, guess what? They're not getting paid any money. So the y-intercept and that initial value is 0. So it says graph and write a linear equation. So anytime that we are writing in a linear equation, it is in that format, y equals mx plus b. The m is the slope, the rate, and the b is the y-intercept. So I already have my m of 25 and a y-intercept of 0. So I am going to write this down as y equals 25x. You could put plus 0, but it's never going to be shown that way. If it says plus 0, you just leave it off, and you're supposed to understand that y equals 25x has a y-intercept of 0 and that initial value of 0. Let's go ahead and we identified the rate and the slope. The rate, slope, and initial value. It says write the slope in rise over run format when graphing. That's good. Step 4, identify the independent, the x, and the dependent, the y variables. So what I'm just going to tell you is that the independent along the x-axis is usually time, some sort of time where you have a months, years. You could have hours, minutes, anything. In this case, it is per hour. So if it's per hour, I'm going to put hours down here. And of course, the y-axis is going to be dollars. Okay, so I'm just going to start to number the hours by ones. And usually that x-axis is going to go by ones Occasionally it won't, but in this case, it'll go by ones. All right, so when you number, just number the lines. You see how I put the number right directly underneath the line? Some people put it directly in the middle of the box. That's not good. This is this is number 2. This is number 3, 4, 5, the proper way to count. All right, so now the y-axis. What is my y-intercept? My y-intercept is 0, so that's what I start with right here. But now, how much did this carpet cleaner make per hour? 25. So that is the first number up, and I'm going to put 25 down. And since I'm rising, I'm going to rise 25 and run 1. I'm just going to continue to count by 25. And you see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm using my slope, like in step 4. I'm using my slope to increase, to rise by the amount on the y-axis. See, these numbers, I'm not just pulling these numbers from thin air. I am going up by 25 each and every line, every unit. And 325, and make sure you go up all the way to the top. And it should stop at 375 at this graph. So we are going to start our first point at 0 hours, $0 for this cleaner. And then rise of 25, run of 1. Rise of 25, run of 1. And you keep on going up like that. You see how easy it is to graph this when you do use the slope and the rate to create the numbers that you're using on that y-axis. And you really should have every point in a straight line. Once you have your points in that straight line, you are going to connect those points using a straight edge. Please use that straight edge, and remember to put an arrow on the end over here on that right side. There is no arrow needed on this left side because it's starting from there. The last thing that you are going to do is to put the equation on the line, and that's it. And you could put a title up here if you wanted to: carpet cleaner rate. Okay, and that is how to graph a real-world rate application. So we're going to do one more, and again, here are the steps. I'm not going to go through them with you again. They're the same steps from the first question. It says you have $2,000 in your savings account. So make sure you highlight the most important information. We have $2,000 and plan to deposit $100 each month. That's important too. So we're ready to go. We have that information down. So let's go ahead and identify the rate. Remember, it has to be in rise over run, and the only reason why it's going to be in rise over run is because we are going to graph here. So which one is my rate? How much does this person plan to save over and over and over again? Yes, if you said 100, that is correct. Plans to deposit $100, and I'm going to put that over 1 because that is my rate. I'm graphing. I want it in rise over run format. My y-intercept, my initial value, is what the person started with in the savings account before anything was deposited per month. So how much was it? $2,000. Okay, let's put our directional arrows right next to the rise. This is a positive 100. It goes up from left to right. Up. The rise goes up. And the run will go right. So let's identify the independent and dependent variable. Remember, time usually goes on the bottom, and in this question, we're going to have months. And just like the other question, dollars. So we are going to start putting numbers down here, and the months are going to go by ones. And once again, I am putting the number right directly underneath the line, each line. On the dollar side, this is where it gets tricky. Remember, use your initial value, right? So step 5, number the y-axis starting with the initial value and increasing by the rate. The initial value is 2,000. So that's what I'm going to start with. $2,000. And the person wants to deposit $100 per month. So I'm going to go up by 100 each time. 2,300, 2,400, 2005, just like this. And this is 3,000, 3,100, go all the way up. Just like that, and then we should reach 3,400. So, very interesting here. We do not start at 0, 0. Please do not start at 0, 0. Start at whatever this person had in their account as the initial value. We had 2,000. This person had $2,000. I'm going to go to 0 months and 2,000. Just remember, if that person walked into a bank and wants to start a savings account and they come in with $2,000, that's what they started with, right? So 0 months, 2,000. Then they're going to rise 100 and run 1. Every month they're going to add 100 to that account. And really what we have here is that you're rising 100, running 1. And since you use the slope to increase by 100 already, your graph simply looks like that. Pretty easy when you use the slope, your rate. Okay, so remember to use your straight edge to create that straight line and put an arrow at the end just like I did. And I forgot, guess what I forgot? I forgot to create that equation. Y equals mx plus b should be y equals, I have a slope, a rate of 100 and a y-intercept of 2,000. That's 100x plus 2,000. And I'm going to put that directly on the line. just like that. There is one thing that I forgot. And if you're saying the title, savings account, it's not the title. All right. So what did I forget? Does anybody know? Okay. Whenever you skip up to a number and then increase by a different number. So we skipped up to 2,000. We didn't continue up by 2,000s. We didn't continue up to 4,000 and 6,000. We didn't increase by 2,000. We increased by 100 after the initial 2,000. So we skipped all of these numbers here. So what we have to put is called a break, and it looks like that. This is called a break, and you need a break when you skip to a certain number and then increase by a different number. And it's not consistent all the way through. You need that break. In the prior problem, we skipped up to 15 or whatever it was. We skipped up to a certain number. Let me go back to that, 25, and then we increased by 25s. Notice there's no break there. But in this question, we skipped up to 2,000 and then we increased by hundreds. So that's when you need a break. And that is how to graph a real world rate application with a y-intercept of 2,000 and with a y-intercept of 0. And hopefully that you found that very helpful. Thank you for watching.